Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Dirty Ho. Yes, a Hong Kong action comedy from 1979 that stars Gordon Liu and Wong Yue. It was a Shaw Brothers movie that was directed by Lau Kar-leung. Some big-timers in this. Master Wang, played by Gordon Liu, is actually the 11th prince of Manchuria in disguise, posing as a sophisticated jewelry dealer and connoisseur of fine art and wine. The prince is trying to determine which of the other 14 heirs to the throne are trying to assassinate him. A jewel thief, Dirty Ho is his name, played by Wong Yue, runs afoul of the prince, who uses Ho to help him flush out his enemies. Wang is a martial arts expert, but in order to conceal his identity, he systematically hides his skills, even as he deploys them. So the film begins with a fighting display and a box full of jewels. You know, it's a typical type of opening credit scene from this studio, and it gets you in the mood for the film. Now, the first sequence occurs at a fancy brothel, which has some very nice set design and nighttime lighting. Plenty of colorful interior and exterior shots as well. It's quite a nice set. In any case, we learn that the character, Dirty Ho, has a bit of an attitude problem, and his temper gets him into trouble. A lot. So early on, he attempts to bribe all of the ladies at the establishment to come to his table, but Master Wang is packing too much cash for him to compete, so Dirty Ho becomes frustrated. And their rivalry early on eventually turns into kind of a partnership, which marks a turning point in the action design. So during the first half of the movie or so, Gordon Liu's character uses deceptive defense maneuvers while attempting to portray himself as a harmless antique dealer. And this results in some pretty fantastic moments of fight choreography. Now, my favorite scene in the whole movie involves Kara Hui, who has a very limited role in this. She only gets a few scenes, but she has some of the best scenes in the movie. And Gordon uses her character as his bodyguard, you know what I mean, who protects him in a fight, but he's the one who's manipulating her movements and strikes, using their clothing as a cover for his skills. So she's wearing a dress, and he's wearing some clothing, and he'll move his arm underneath her arm, and he'll use her arm to hit somebody while portraying himself as being harmless, and that she's the one who's protecting him, because he doesn't want to blow his cover as a martial arts expert. And I found that whole sequence pretty awesome. It's a pretty neat scene, almost like a dance performance in a lot of ways, because you have two actors moving in unison as they're fighting off people. I thought that was a great scene. In another scene, someone tries to kill our protagonist while serving him tea, but he's trying not to cause a commotion. And it's another one of those covert murder attempts where he needs to avoid the attacks discreetly. And they basically use their heavy and unusually large teacups, which look to be made of bronze or something, and they're using them in a little fight scene and fast strikes. So that was a pretty cool scene as well. There's a similar scene in an antique shop, and you're wondering if they're going to break something really valuable. So it's a good subtext in there. That's more of an overt fight, though. And that's when the movie kind of transitions into a more traditional kung fu flick. Eventually he's exposed, you know what I mean? He just needs to start fighting. But I do think the earlier fights in the movie have a very unique and unconventional quality to them. But the later ones are very good. There are some training sequences, of course, when things get rolling. There's a scene where they use candles, and it'll burn Dirty Ho if he screws up his forms and trainings. I thought that scene was pretty cool, and it looked very difficult to perform. There's a few big fights in this during the second half. There's a 2 versus many fight. It takes place in and around a destroyed stone building of some kind. Cool scene. There's lots of spears, arrows, umbrellas, and it also involves a wheelchair. And then the finale is neat because it's a 2 versus 3 showdown involving a bow staff and a spear, and the weapons are being passed between the characters. So you'll get a few guys who kind of pass the spears to each other throughout the fight, and a few guys who pass the bow to each other, and there's lots of teamwork and combo attacks throughout the entire scene. I really think like the fight choreography in this movie is very like precise and very interesting to watch. The action delivers big time. Now, obviously, some of the actors in here have legit screen presence. I mean, Gordon Liu is great, and he gets some very nice moments in this. He's allowed to express like a more cheerful character in this, because he's, especially early on when he's having discussions about antiques and fine wines, and he has a bit of a cocky attitude that he portrays in his character. It's good, and that's when like the humor comes into play, operating as like an undercurrent to many of the events and fights that unfold. I mean, the main conflicts in the movie are pretty basic on their surface, but the interplay between the characters is what makes it like really interesting. So if you're even remotely interested in old school kung fu flicks, I think Dirty Ho is a must watch. It's a great name for a movie, too. Available streaming on Amazon and YouTube. It's also included in the first big Shawscope Blu-ray box set that I think was released by Arrow. So yeah, check this one out. It's pretty much a must-watch. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.